From a mysterious UFO at the top of Mount Everest to the truth behind the mountain climbers terrorized by ghosts and apparitions. Number 10. UFO over Everest. One of the strangest things ever found on Mount Everest was definitely an alien ship. Of course, nobody has ever actually found a physical alien spacecraft perched on the edge of the tallest mountain in the world. However, a strange object was recently filmed hovering over the Himalayas, and there is no way it came from our planet. First of all, planes don't fly over Mount Everest. There's simply no reason for them to do it, and besides, it's way too high. Eagle-eyed observers say there's no way it could be a drone because of how high it is, and the fact that it causes a slight silhouette. Skywatchers noticed the object after David Breachers, a mountaineer and filmmaker, constructed a stunning 2 billion pixel picture of the mountain range. The gorgeous image is just one of 477 that have been stitched together to create a composition of the high-definition mosaic. The completed image captures amazing detail of the world's tallest mountain, stretching from the base camp, where hundreds of climbers prepare to make the journey up to the sky above. The spooky footage shows a black shape above the mountain range, looking almost like a narrow cigar or a flat disc. It's a little hard to tell, but there's no mistaking it for an artificial object. It's not a bird, it's definitely not a drone, and to be quite honest, there is nothing on this earth that it could be. Plus, there have been UFO sightings in the skies over the Himalayas for decades, with the first reports starting back in the 1960s. Number 9. Maurice Wilson. The story of Maurice Wilson is nothing short of fantastic. He was a British soldier who wanted to climb Mount Everest, but who had absolutely no climbing experience. His plan was to fly a plane as high as it can go, land somewhere on the mountain, and then stroll up to the top. It was a completely crazy idea, especially since he had no flying experience either. In the end, Maurice was so determined that he set out and tried to climb the mountain alone in 1934. To this day, nobody knows if he made it to the top or not, because he died. He managed to get to at least 22,700 feet, which is quite impressive for a guy who didn't know what he was doing. The next year, his body was found by a British expedition. Now you're probably thinking, of course he didn't make it. They found his body. But many years later in 1960, a Chinese expedition reached the summit and on their way discovered the remains of an old tent significantly higher than where Wilson's body was found. This would suggest that Wilson, if the tent belonged to him like the experts say, really did make it to the top of Mount Everest by himself, but then perished on his way down. Do you think a guy with absolutely no experience in 1934 really made it to the top of the toughest and highest mountain in the world? Number 8. Attack of the Sherpas. Most of the people who decide to climb Everest expect to find glory at the top of the mountain. Some even believe they'll be able to see heaven itself. However, a British climber and 2 of his companions recently discovered an angry mob of Sherpas on Mount Everest instead of a glorious heaven, and were forced to leave the mountain after they realized it was no longer safe for them to be there. According to what John Griffith told The Guardian, he and his friends were confronted by a group of about 100 Sherpas high up on the mountain near Camp 2. The Sherpas had blocked the way up. They had their faces covered in scarves, and in their hands were rocks. But here's what happened before that. Griffin and his crew had gotten into a heated argument with the Sherpas, but they thought everything was okay after the verbal disagreement. Apparently, it wasn't. The Sherpas instead returned with a small army, and the only thing that prevented Griffith and his friends from being slaughtered was the protection of about a dozen brave nearby climbers, including the American climber Melissa Arnott, the only female who had climbed Everest 4 times. One of the climbers was nearby, stabbed in the gut, only saved by the leather of his belt. In the end, the climbers were forced to run away and leave the mountain entirely. Griffith told The Guardian, "There was a 50-minute period where we all thought we were going to get stoned to death. I kept saying, I don't understand what's happening. When we explained the whole story, it sounds like a Hollywood exaggeration." Why do you think the Sherpas acted this way? Number 7. Marine fossils. NASA has confirmed that there are indeed ocean marine fossils that have been found at the very top of Mount Everest. In simpler terms, the space agency NASA has admitted that people have discovered the fossils of marine animals on the highest mountain peak in the world. Some say these discoveries are proof of the biblical flood discussed through chapters 6 to 9 of the book of Genesis in the Bible, when God reverted the earth back to its pre-creation form of water and chaos. Others aren't so sure. The truth is that fossilized fish at the top of Everest don't actually prove anything about the Bible. NASA says the marine fossils only prove the scientific theory of plate tectonics. The plain fact that Everest was once at the bottom of the ocean and the mountain itself was created thanks to the tectonic plates shifting and pushing terrain upwards. It took about 100 million years for the mountains to rise up from the seabed. But that's exactly how it happened, and that's why fish fossils have been found on Everest. What explanation do you believe? The flood from the Bible, or the claims from the scientists about Mother Nature millions of years ago? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button if you haven't already. Number 6. Grass and shrubs. Something very alarming has been found on Mount Everest and across the Himalayas. I'm talking about grass and shrubbery. That may not seem alarming to you, but the fact that grass and shrubs have been discovered growing around Mount Everest is very worrying to scientists. The reason the grass is growing is because Everest is getting hotter, and the ice in the area is melting at a faster rate than ever recorded before. Scientists recently used satellite data to show how prolific the vegetation has become, as the distance between the tree line and the snow line has become more significant. Here's what the images taken by NASA's Landsat satellites has revealed. Between 1993 and 2018, vegetation increased significantly from between 12,000 and 18,000 feet above sea level. This same research showed that the ice lost in the Himalayas has more than doubled between 2000 and 2016. What this means for the future is that Everest could lose a lot of its ice and instead be covered in little shrubs. That will make climbing the legendary mountain quite a bit different. If Mount Everest was warmer, do you think more people would attempt to climb it? Number 5. The YETI. About 12 miles south of Mount Everest, on Mount Makalu, the 5th highest mountain in the world, the Indian Army claims to have discovered a footprint of the abominable snowman, also known as the YETI. It wasn't on Mount Everest, but it was pretty close, and there's nothing that says the YETI can't move from mountain to mountain. The footprints in question were found back in April of 2019, with the soldiers measuring them at 32 inches long. A spokesman from the Defense Ministry told NBC News that photos were taken of the mysterious large footprints by the Army's mountaineering expedition team and sent to scientists for verification. But even before the footprints were even verified by scientists, people who saw the photographs online were quick to cast doubt. One person pointed out that the footprints were in a straight line, with each print directly behind the other. Considering that's not really how things with two legs walk, it's possible that the Indian Army faked it. But maybe that's how the YETI walks? No one really knows. Why the Army would fake a YETI sighting is beyond understanding. But who knows? Maybe the YETI really is prancing around the Himalayas. Maybe he even snacks on the corpses of forgotten climbers. Number 4. 17 bodies. Back in 2015, Mount Everest experienced one of its deadliest days when a massive earthquake struck Nepal, killing roughly 2,000 people, ruined temples, and sent an avalanche barreling down the side of Mount Everest. According to the president of the Nepal Mountaineering Association, 17 bodies were discovered after the avalanche at the Mount Everest base camp. That is a lot of bodies to discover in a single day. While the treacherous mountain has taken many lives over the years, it's rare for so many people to die in one single incident there. Before this, the highest number of deaths counted on one day was 16. That day was just a year before the avalanche that killed 17. The incident in 2014 involved 16 Sherpas getting caught in a deadly snow avalanche as they tried to carve out a safe route of passage for foreign climbers. Number 3. Microplastics. At the very top of the world, researchers have found microplastics. The discovery was made in 2019, and to be honest, it is actually pretty shocking. Scientists believe that microplastics probably came from equipment used by the climbers who summit the highest peak every year. This equipment includes fluorescent tents, gas canisters, frozen feces, and so much more. There's actually so much garbage on Everest that it's been called the highest dumpster in the world. A team of 14 people spent 16 weeks scouring for litter at Everest. They cleared the mountain of 4 bodies and more than 10 tons of plastic bottles, cans, and climbing equipment. The study also suggests that it is possible that microplastics are blown there from elsewhere in the strong Himalayan winds. The research team that found the microplastics was part of a National Geographic expedition. These small pollutants, which scientists now know permeate just about every body of water in the world and have even been found at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, were discovered as high as 25,000 feet above sea level. That being said, the highest concentration of microplastics were found at Base Camp, the most highly trafficked area on the mountain. What was really surprising was that in every single snow sample analyzed by scientists, there were traces of microplastics. This just goes to show that even somewhere as remote as Everest has been polluted by the scourge of plastic. It's a dirty world we live in. Number 2. Ghosts. There's one thing that nobody expected to find on Mount Everest, and that's ghosts. And yet, according to some climbers, Mount Everest is actually plagued with supernatural beings and unexplained occurrences. It could have something to do with the hundreds of bodies still trapped in the ice on the mountain. It could be that their souls have never managed to escape either. But whatever the case, there have been a slew of recent reports of creepy things happening on the mountain. For example, back in 2004, the Sherpa Pemba Dorje admitted that he saw black shadows emerging from thin air as he scaled towards the top of the mountain, with the shadows holding out their hands as if begging for food to eat. The Sherpa is now convinced that these shadows were the lost spirits of dead climbers. This actually makes a lot of sense, right? Of course Mount Everest is haunted. Hundreds of people have died there in their tenacious attempts of overcoming the tallest mountain in the world. What do you think? Are there ghosts on Everest? And number 1, a lot of poop. The most disgusting and shocking thing you can find right now on Mount Everest is a staggering amount of human poop. The former leader of the Nepal Mountaineering Association recently said that the biggest threat to climbers on Mount Everest right now is the ungodly amount of excrement left on its slopes. Some of the most reliable estimates have put the amount of human feces on Mount Everest at roughly 17,000 pounds per season. This coincides with the Sherpas, who guessed that about 17,637 pounds of excrement were left during 2018's climbing season. It is impossible to accurately figure out how much excrement is spread across Everest. It only becomes visible each year in the spring when the snow melts. The problem has gotten so bad that at Camp 2, the stench from all the leftover poop is starting to make people sick. It's also starting to pollute the water, turning into quite the health hazard. During a recent expedition, 8 out of the 10 Sherpas got stomach illnesses from drinking the bad water at Camp 2. Basically, because of all the leftover human waste, Mount Everest is turning into a toxic dump. Thanks for watching. Would you dare to try to scale Mount Everest? Do you know anyone that has? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and come back again soon for another amazing video. See you next time.